I used to think I knew myself inside out, my limits, my principles, my boundaries. For most of my 32 years, I lived inside a careful routine that gave me comfort. My mornings began with the smell of freshly brewed coffee, my afternoons with the familiar hum of the office printer, and my evenings with my husband, Mark, sitting across from me at the dinner table. We had been married for 8 years, and though life was steady, it wasn't exactly filled with surprises. I thought I liked it that way. That was until I met Daniel. It wasn't a grand meeting or an earth-shattering introduction. It happened on a Wednesday, a perfectly normal one. The kind of day where you expect nothing unusual, where the biggest excitement might be finding a forgotten chocolate bar in your desk drawer. I had stopped at the little coffee shop 2 blocks from my office to grab my usual latte before heading in. The place was quiet, with only a handful of early risers scattered around. That's when I noticed him. He was seated near the window, long fingers turning the pages of an old leather-bound book. His back was straight, shoulders slightly tilted as if he was always ready to listen but never in a rush to speak. There was something different about him. Something in his shape, his stillness, the way his presence filled the space without demanding attention. I don't know why I couldn't look away. It wasn't attraction in the way people usually mean it. It was more like seeing a painting that you can't quite understand but desperately want to. Over the next week, I saw him there again. Always at the same table. Always with a book. Eventually, we exchanged polite nods. Then came the first conversation, something about the rain that had been falling all week. "Feels like the city's been wrapped in a gray blanket," he said with a faint smile. I found myself smiling back. At least it makes the coffee taste better. That was all it took. Over the following weeks, our small talks turned into longer ones. He told me he was an artist, a freelance illustrator who liked to capture the shapes of people more than their faces. "Faces lie," he'd said once. "But posture, gestures, they tell the truth." It fascinated me, the way he saw the world in details I'd never noticed. I'd started to notice them too, the way Mark always tapped his fork twice before eating, the way my coworker leaned forward when she was nervous. Daniel had opened a door in my mind I hadn't even known was there. One Saturday, our paths crossed at a local art fair. He was sketching people as they walked by, his pencil moving in smooth, deliberate strokes. I stood a few feet away, watching. He didn't notice me at first, but when he did, he gave a small nod of acknowledgement. My heart quickened for reasons I couldn't explain. The more I saw Daniel, the more my thoughts wandered toward him. Not in ways that broke rules yet, but in ways that skirted the edges. I started telling myself it was harmless curiosity, that it was fine to wonder about someone else's life as long as I wasn't crossing a line. But lines have a way of moving when you're not paying attention. It happened on a rainy evening. I'd stayed late at work, and as I stepped out with my umbrella, I spotted him standing under the awning of a bookstore. He looked up when he saw me, and instead of the usual polite greeting, he said, "Walk with me?" We walked for blocks, talking about everything from childhood dreams to the kind of houses we imagined living in someday. I didn't tell him I was married, though I don't know why. Maybe because I was afraid it would put a wall between us, and I wasn't ready for that wall. When I finally got home that night, Mark was already asleep. I stood in the hallway for a long time, staring at the quiet rise and fall of his chest, and felt something twist inside me. Guilt, confusion, maybe even fear. Over the next few weeks, my marriage began to feel heavier. Mark noticed something was off. "You've been distant," he said one night as we were clearing the table. I wanted to deny it, but the truth sat in my throat like a stone. I told him everything, not in the messy, romanticized way you see in movies, but plainly, with all the ugliness laid bare. That I had been drawn to someone else. That I'd hidden it. That I'd let my curiosity take me too far in my heart, even if nothing physical had happened. His face changed in a way I'll never forget. It wasn't anger, not exactly. It was hurt. Deep, quiet hurt. For days, we barely spoke. I kept replaying everything in my mind, all the little choices that had led me there. Curiosity can be harmless, yes, but it can also be the first step toward something you can't undo. In the weeks that followed, Mark and I had long, difficult conversations. There were tears. There were moments I thought he might walk away. But we kept talking, kept showing up, kept choosing each other. One afternoon, months later, we walked along the lakeside trail near our home. The air was crisp, the water still. He reached for my hand, and I knew in that moment we were healing. I never saw Daniel again. But sometimes I think about the way he sat by that coffee shop window, reading in the light of a slow morning. And I think about the choices we make when we let curiosity lead. I learned that some doors, once opened, can't be closed without a cost. And that the shape of someone's presence is never worth more than the shape of the life you've built.